My name is Jarrett DeMartino. I guess I'm a tattoo artist. I'm an artist by trade, but I tattoo for a living. Yeah, and this is my shop. It's called Solid Gallery 1, and we're here in Los Angeles, California. My mother was a high school art teacher, and my father was a musician, so kind of tattoo artist just made sense. I went to School of Visual Arts in New York City for 4 years. During that time, I met my mentor, B. Cortez, and he had taken me under his wing. And yeah, pretty much taught me my trade and has really been a huge part of everything that you see here today. I was always inspired with tattoo style artwork from high school even, and I was messing around with designs, and then when I had gone to college, I already had a couple of small pieces, and then I was doing some designs on my own, and I was going to different studios and showing them the patterns. And at the time, tattooing was still illegal in Manhattan. It was more of a hush-hush thing. There weren't huge neon signs like there are today and everything, and 12 tattoo shops on every block. So you kind of had to know somebody and buzz up, and it was more of a secretive thing. And all these different shops kept giving me a weird vibe, like I was there to get a job or take a job, and I was just trying to get tattooed. And I remember even thinking to myself, all right, this is the last place I'm gonna go in, and if I get a weird vibe, I'm not even gonna get tattoos. And I went in there, and I wound up at meeting B, and he asked me if I wanted to come to his apartment to get tattooed as opposed to doing it at the shop at the time. And yeah, and everything just really worked out, and I was pretty stoked about it. I was doing some graphic design work for him because he was doing a graffiti clothing company, and I was always hoping that it would kind of lead to some sort of apprenticeship, but it was never like a said thing. And then one thing led to another, and it just worked out in my favor. And yeah, I was actually able to get the apprenticeship with B. And then he got me a job as a shop person at a shop called Fly Right in Brooklyn. I worked there for about a year and a half, like working the counters and just getting familiar with the shop and stuff. And B was also working at a place in Queens, and he was leaving that spot, and then I replaced him. I worked out there for about 4.5 years, and then moved to California. And I have worked in a shop in Venice called ST Tattoo. Was there for about 4.5 years, managed that place, and at that point it was just time for me to do my own thing. So then I decided to open the shop, Solid Gallery 1. I've got Solid down my left arm graffiti that B had done for me. That's just kind of where the name kind of came into place. After working at ST for 4.5 years and managing the place, the owner had kind of really let me take over the place. I had remodeled the store twice, so with building the shop, I knew everything that went into the physical components of it. And then from dealing with the accountants and all the different distributors and whatnot, I just had a rapport with all these people. So then it just became time. I had such a following that it didn't make sense for me to work for anybody anymore. Even though I liked the people that I was working with, it was just time to do my own thing. So and then once I started, it was a little bit of a crash course, and hindsight's always 20/20, but everything's a learning process. I remember tattooing myself when I was 13 with a razor blade and repair craft, and tattooing my friends like that, and there was just something, I just always was attracted to it. I went to school for computer art, and by my junior year I realized that computers were a little unstable, and I know making a line with a needle and wiping it and it's not going to go anywhere is a little extreme, but I just kind of leaned more towards that. And I would say by the end of my junior year in college, that's when I was already about halfway through my apprenticeship. I knew things were pretty concrete that was the direction that I was going to go. As an artist, and especially being self-employed, it does wonders for one's hustle. And you're definitely on the clock 24/7. Everybody that you meet, I mean, even if it's a friendship thing, you can still are looking at some sort of business angle. And if it's not tattooing, it's a graphic design gig that's spun off from tattooing. I mean, I've done a line of skateboards, t-shirts, and backdrops for bands and all these other things that have stemmed from tattooing. So when you're not tattooing, you're at home drawing your tattoos for the following day. And even today, I mean, I just finished tattooing 12 hours. The last time I ate was 9 o'clock in the morning, and now it's 10 o'clock at night or something like that. So it's definitely a full-on thing. I mean, if you're not into working with grit and working hungry and constantly having your foot on the gas, you're gonna your craft is definitely going to suffer. I like the idea of, if I don't do it for one day, I see it. If I don't do it for 2 days, my peers see it. And if I don't do it for 3 days, I feel like my audience sees it. And when you're a tattoo artist, it's sort of like putting on a concert every day, and every single person that you're working with is your job interview. I mean, I don't even know how many job interviews I go on a day, and people I talk to that are new clients and everything, and each client is a new employer with different quirks and different things, and you got to know how to kind of work and bounce off of them and know what to say and what not to say. So there's a whole lot of things that go into it, but you definitely are constantly working or thinking about the next thing, or if I'm tattooing that day, I wake up and I'm like, all right, even driving to work, I'm thinking about, well, if I use this color with this and that color against that with this particular piece, is that going to make sense? And so you're constantly thinking about it. Or I'll be at some arbitrary place and all of a sudden an idea for a client will just pop in my head and I just have to jot it down, you know, because sometimes they just come to me and sometimes you got to hammer them out. So it all really depends, but you're always constantly working. Yeah. People always come in and they approach me and they're like, oh, how do I, you know, get into it and everything? And I tell people, bring me 25 sketches. And if you bring me 25 sketches, I'm gonna look at your sketches and be like, these sketches are really good. Now give me 25 more sketches. After about 300 sketches, maybe we can talk about sweeping a floor. And it kind of works up from there. I've never seen 25 sketches in 12 years. It's really what you're coming to the table with. If you're gonna just willing to completely immerse yourself and it's just hoorah, like how high, you know, when someone says jump, you have to get into it with that type of mentality. And while you're doing some things that might seem mundane, redundant, or just why the hell am I doing this, a lot of times they will make sense later on.
Baby girl, she's crying.